in the name of love. Well, in the name of love. Welcome back to another episode of Instrumental Inspiration. This is where we take the dry and dusty and not so exciting disciplines and strategies from the elite coaches and super wealthy entrepreneurs, and we make it much more accessible so that you can retain it and recall it by infusing it with some music, especially with live looping. Today, let's be looking at Tony Robbins, and he's looking at the principles that can prolong your relationship, to infuse it, to have a more successful relationship, to a relationship that lasts. So, let's get cracking.
The Big Cigar.
Alright, Tony Robbins, we all know of him. Yeah, this is, brace yourself, this is high grade stuff. A lot of us make the mistake of mistaking intimacy with love, and with that honeymoon phase with love and attachment and securities and all of that kind of stuff. And Tony actually, he's able to cut right through that. So let's cut right through it. These aren't actually just principles, these are what Tony calls disciplines of love. Great Scott, let's burn our dunce caps, come out of detention, and move straight into the upper class, into the higher grade. Point number one, the first discipline, he says, is the discipline of unconditional love and compassion. So he talks about, now, this isn't just making this all about you, it's about putting your lover first. It's about seeing their perspective. It's not being the critic or just the observer. It's being empathic. It's about having a heartfelt understanding of their inner being circuitry, of their goings on, of their processes. So the first discipline, number one, the discipline of unconditional love and compassion. All right, so let's put that down as a loop. So, loop number one, the discipline of unconditional love and compassion. Let's go. Let's just see if the turnaround's good. Good enough for rock and roll. On to point two. The second discipline is courage and vulnerability. And to be vulnerable, one needs a lot of courage. We often hide things and our fears and things that from our partner, and often it becomes a bit of a power struggle. So Tony Robbins says, love no matter what. It's that unconditional principle. Love no matter what. He also says to commit to absolute truth, and I think those truths that he talks about will come in point 3 and in point 4. So commit to those truths. An important recipe is be present and give your partner your undivided focus and attention. That's a big problem often, because they don't. How are you going to understand them? How are you going to feel how are you going to feel compassionate or empathic if you don't really understand where they're coming from? Okay, cool. Knowing that signs that criticism and rejection are just signs of loss of trust, loss of interest, and loss of commitment. So that's just a basic little warning signal. Okay, you've got to see that this commitment, this love, this relationship, this intimacy that you've got to feed it like as you would a flowering plant. Okay, it needs to be nurtured. So point 2, nurture with courage and vulnerability. All right, so let's get to point 2, the courage and vulnerability. Two's down. Point 3. All right, point 3, we're getting to those knowing the absolute truth part. So point 3 is knowing the truth. And what he says here, he says that there is a no blame game. I like the way he refers to it as a game. It's something that you play. It's not something that you take seriously. It's not a transaction. So the no blame game. Avoid blaming at all costs. He even goes on to say that be aware of how you express yourself. Express yourself from your heart and be conscious of your context so that you can avoid blame altogether. Blame just leads to defensiveness, which then just leads to escalation, and then we all know where that goes. Cool. So that's point 3, knowing the truth. Okay, so let's put on point 3 as a audio loop, knowing your truth. Okay, point number 4, still on truth. Telling yourself the truth. I think this is now being authentic. This is now being aware of the impact that your state has on your relationship. Knowing that trust is confidence in your partner. And then that is then reverse engineering that. And being confident in self to allow your partner the same privilege. And it's contagious, it'll rub off. It's about being authentic so others can trust in you. And he says, be true to the generosity of your highest intentions. This is higher grade stuff, is it not? Okay, let's express point 4, telling yourself the truth, as a loop. Point 4. There we go. Awesome stuff, right. Now we've almost come full circle. We're going to get to point number 5, giving freedom. And this freedom that he speaks of here ultimately actually is for yourself as well as your partner. But this is the toughie. This is letting go of attachment. So it's basically you surrendering to the power of forgiving, of forgetting, and for flooding. Because it's a natural desire for us to want to love. It's a joy in giving the love. And when we cut that off, that's when we experience suffering. So the joy of forgiving and forgetting, and then for flooding, because in that way our partner's cup can only be flooded full. Tony goes on to say that if you want the passion in your life, if you want to kindle that passion, have that fiery passion, you have to give them the freedom. You have to set them free, because there's nothing that kills the fire. There's nothing that kills the fire of passion than when you contain it. You will snuff it out very quickly. So it takes a big steel ones to give your partner all that freedom, but then you will then enjoy the benefits of that fiery passion that goes along with it. He goes on to say that if ever there is a mistake, always see it from your partner's perspective. It's not just about making your partner see your perspective, but actually, if you're going to make your partner see it from your perspective, you actually then have to see it from their perspective as well. And that ultimately will build trust as well. So, a quick recap. The 5 disciplines of love, according to Tony Robbins. Number 1, the discipline of unconditional love and compassion. Okay, it's about putting your lover first, not just yourself selfishly. Obviously, there's a fine balance there. Okay, being empathic, have a heart for understanding, know what their inner state is. Okay, number 2, courage to be vulnerable, courage and vulnerability. Okay, love no matter what, being present, giving your partner the undivided attention. Cultivate it like you would a plant. Okay, knowing the truth, that make the blame game now irrelevant. It's not about blaming anymore, it's about aiming. Okay, express yourself from your heart and make sure that your context avoids blame. Point 4, telling yourself the truth. Okay, being aware of the impact that your state has on your partner, and that trust is their confidence in you. So always be authentic to trust yourself so it can reflect outside of yourself too. And then moving on to number 5, giving that freedom to forgive, to forget, to flood, setting them free so that you can enjoy that passion that comes with freedom, and seeing their perspective and not just your own. Right, we've come full circle. Let's close the loop. All right, so that's the 5 Principles of Love by Tony Robbins. Let's close this loop. Let's set our partners free so that we can enjoy the fiery passion that comes with the freedom that it gives them. Let's see their perspective and not just our own. Let's commit to an unconditional love, and let us celebrate a love that can last a lifetime. One man come in the name of love. One man come and go. One man come is to justify. One man to overthrow. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. Whoa, 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 Peace out, much love. May your relationships thrive.
The Big Cigar.